Good evening to everyone. Namaste to everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Harshit ji, if you can please switch on your video. Yeah, welcome, sir. Welcome. Yeah, so before we begin the webinar, I hope everyone is safe and healthy. I hope your family and friends are safe and healthy. So it's very important that, not only physically, but mentally also we, take care of ourselves during these tough times. Right. So among all these negativity, we have to make sure that we are, positive so that we can survive this tough time. And I hope, webinars like this is actually a distraction to all of us from the negativity. And I also hope that it will be very helpful in your professional lives as well. So first of all, I'd like to introduce the guest of honor for today's webinar, CMA Harshit Deshpande ji. Welcome. So if I have to introduce him, he's a cost management accountant. He's a CS, CISA, and CMA, CIMA from UK. He's also an insolvency professional and registered valuer. So he's practicing as a cost accountant and is a partner in Harshad Deshpande and Associates. And he has a experience of more than 15 years. He specializes in the field of cost and management accounting, finance, and indirect taxation. And he's also done valuations for various purposes like issue of shares, mergers and acquisitions, liquidation, etc. He's also closely associated with reputed academic institutes like Singhad Business School, MIT School of Business, and various international B schools like WLC College as well, where he's the visiting faculty. He is currently the chairman of WRC of Institute of Cost Accountants of India, and he's also nominated as a member in the advisory committee of Insolvency Professional Agency. So we are very glad to have such an experienced professional among us. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. So over to you for opening remarks, please.
Yes. Good evening to Ramya and Vikas and the whole team of Optotax. So, I mean, today's world, we are facing a lot of turbulence, not only in terms of, just the pandemic, but also as a finance professionals. We have seen day in, day out, the changes are happening so drastically and so fast. And if somebody, 5 years and 2 years just in front, so you'll see that there is a sea change. The change has happened not only in just the outer environment, but also the regulatory framework. You talk about income tax, you talk about direct tax like GST, you talk about Companies Act, you talk about valuation, you talk about IBC. So whole world has really changed. So one of that big change that we have witnessed is of course the GST. Okay, so this 2017 was a landmark year wherein this GST has happened. And again, we have seen a sea change even within the GST. All of you are aware that it is not remained, so simple and good tax as it was being demonstrated. So you must have seen the pictures wherein that the content of the rules act is so much, and the notification and expressions are this much. That is how it is. So we live in this world, and these complexities are going to be there, and we need to have a very focused and a specialized approach. And e-invoicing is something that today we are going to discuss. It is also one of the very big change which has happened. And in fact, I'm telling you, friends, that we have seen this year in the budget speech that all of us, professionals like CAs and cost accountants, we were authorized to do that GST audit, and suddenly that provision has been relaxed, isn't it? So that is going to be a challenge. So the way I see it, as it's not, people see that this as a challenge, but I see that also as an opportunity. So that will give us the opportunity to be, to build a robust system so that the assessees are, more tax compliant, and self assessment is something that government wants. So this is what we should see all of us as an opportunity. E-invoicing is also one of the step in that direction. I feel so because uh, I mean, we can correlate that with the relaxation of GST audit. See, friends, what has happened is that uh, when we talk about from the government perspective, revenue. Okay, so the revenue side, when it's come from the basically indirect taxes, the taxes always collected from the revenue streams like the sales of the goods. So there was excise, there was customs, there was a not a customs, but I will say that VAT and other taxes which were levied on the selling price. So similarly, this what happens is that this revenue, if government is rightly thinking so that if the revenue stream is being controlled, automatically the revenue will remain protected. And no matter what you play around with your expenditure side, the collection of the government or revenue collection will not have any impact. So with that logic, this e-invoicing is the one of the big projects which has been launched by the government, and this only not has repercussions in terms of just GST, but also in terms of aligning the data, the better corporate governance, the shell companies, their input tax credit mechanism. So these all things are going to be interlinked, and the days to come, you will see that the threshold limits, what is being prescribed, it will go down and down. And ideally, government would like to have everything on the e mode so that with the e-invoicing and with the system what they have for the tracking of the goods, so that e-way bill, so e-way bill along with the e-invoicing would be a tool which government by which we can monitor the revenue streams of any business, made with the product or made with the service. And once that happens, as I said earlier, that once that revenue is being established by the government authorities, the tax collection would be easy, tax collection could be bigger, it could be more transparent. And there will be though challenges like what we are facing about this input tax credit and need of the audits, may it be the departmental audits or may it be the special audits or the professionals audit. So these all would be gone. So I feel that this was the thing that government always wanted to. And just aligning with this relaxation provisions, I see that today's to comes that there will be more and more organizations will be forced to go into invoicing. And after maybe 3 years down the time, you will see that everybody perhaps, except there would be some small threshold below which perhaps they will allow, but otherwise it all will be a e-invoicing game. That is what I feel, and that is how it should be. And in fact that will synergize the whole system, and you will see that there are no tax leakages, and uh, the things would be very simple. That is what I feel. So friends, again, one more challenges we face is that many times we feel that technology will take away the jobs. Okay, so when this SAP and all the ERPs were coming in 2000, early 2000, everybody thought that there will not be any jobs. Okay, left for the finance domain. There will not be. When Tally also came, everybody thought, okay, what is the need for a chartered accountant or any accountant to do so? But what has happened? Whether that demand has been reduced, to my opinion, definitely no. In fact, it has grown, isn't it? That everybody, we need accountants, we need more and more people. So the what the mindset the many of the people are having is that because of e-invoicing there could be loss of jobs, or because of GST there could be loss of jobs. I don't think so there will be any loss of jobs, but I feel so that this nature of the job what we were doing, it will be changed. So instead of doing it manually or somebody having invoicing guy, we will have you know he will have a better job. The compliances and its compliantness both will increase with this technology coming up. And I feel that when computers started, everybody said that there will not be need of any paper. Now you see that with ERPs coming in, the need paper demand has increased. So this is how it happens. So I feel that as a professionals, we should take this as a challenge. There are so many issues. Of course, the technical experts are there who are going to help you out, and you will be benefiting for that. So I'm sure that they will be covering the all aspects. But friends, definitely we should look at this as a learning opportunity, and we as accountants community, we should be acceptable, ready to accept this all these changes what are happening. learn ourselves and make our clients also aware instead of having any hesitance to the change, because the policy of the government is very very clear. I don't think so there will be any change in that. We have witnessed that how clear the mindset of the government is. So let us accept that change and try to biff it into the system, and that will be a big step for not only for us as a career, but also for the health to the economy and country as a whole. So just I would like to thank the Optotax team to giving me this opportunity to interact with you. I was really happy, and I've seen this their product also, and I'm thankful to them that they have given a lot of features. And their main thing is that most of this software what they provide are without any charges, which is something very very unique. And I was I asked that. Tanaya was there, I think, yeah. So I asked her that three times that are you sure that you're not charging anything? She said that no, sir, we don't charge anything. So that's a really great thing. I mean, you can give more, and you can of course get back something back more. That's how it is. And I wish all the best to the after tax team, and they will continue to do their good journey. And some of the features are really good. I've seen. I've also tested some of it, but it is a good software. So I suggest that everybody, whomsoever possible, can avail this their services and be more compliant and efficient. So this is what I can say, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And wish you all very best of luck. And we wish, rather, we expect that this in this May month, the lockdown may end, and we may back to the what it was, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for your amazing words. Thank you so much. And now, if I have to move on and introduce our speaker for the day, CA Vishal Goyal. So he's a practicing chartered accountant and specializes in the field of internal audit processes and systems, including indirect tax audits. He's also involved in organizing and maintaining financial records, tax preparation, periodic inspection of books, accounting books and practices. He's also involved in financial audits, federal and state compliance audits, and agreed upon procedures. He has conducted re-engineering, Six Sigma best practices framework, and benchmarking with respect to IDT function and monitoring of cost and expenses. So really happy to have such a talented chartered accountant with us. So thank you so much, Vishalji.
Thank you. Thank you, Ramya ji, for providing me this opportunity. Thank you, Optotax team. And I would like to thank Harshad sir as well for giving us his valuable remarks. I would like I would also thanks to all the participants, and I hope that the webinar you find this webinar as valuable to you. So we proceed to before proceeding to the today's webinar. I first would like to tell you the scope of the webinar, what we are going to cover, and what is the e-invoicing. So in today's webinar, we are covering the e-invoicing. E-invoicing, what are the legal provisions of the e-invoicing, what is the IRP portal, what is the IRN QR code, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of the e-invoicing, as well the technical aspects of the e-invoicing, how to bulk generate the IRN through the government portal and all. So government has introduced the e-invoicing. Government has introduced the e-invoicing for the only currently for only selected class of persons, and on the selected class of selected type of transactions, on the all type of transactions, the e-invoicing is applicable only on the selected type of transactions for the selected type of registered persons. So what is the purpose behind introducing the e-invoicing? The purpose behind introducing the e-invoicing is to assist the taxpayers and to reduce the burden of the compliances. Like right now, what the registered person is doing, he issues an invoice, then generates and then manually punches the data to the e-way bill portal, and generates the e-way bill. Then generate the e-way bill, and after that he again manually punch the data to the GST portal and file their GSTR once. So by e-way bill, that process will be cut down. The supplier has to register, or registered person has to only upload the invoices to the details of the invoices to the IRP portal, and the IRP portal will automatically transfer these invoices to the e-way bill portal wherever required and generate the e-way bill. And that IRP portal will also send the send the details, also import these details to your GSTR1, from where you can file your GSTR1 directly. So it is basically, what it will do is it will reduce your the compliances and assist the taxpayers. Uh, Further, it also gives the details to the tax authorities as well, immediately on a real-time basis. Like when you report an invoice to the IRP portal, that will immediately flag to the tax authorities. And if tax authorities find any issues in that invoice, or things that that invoice need to be tracked, then they can track down the invoice. They can track down the invoice. So what government thinks is of government is of the view that e-invoicing will help in curbing the tax evasions, and to reduction in the issue of fake invoices, and reduction in fake invoices as well. So with this thought, we are moving we are moving towards our webinar. I am sharing my screen, so kindly let me whether the screen is visible or not.
Visible, sir.
Thank you. So what we are going to cover is legal provisions of the e-invoicing and on whose e-invoicing is applicable. What is the process of generating the e-invoicing, the issues e-invoicing, the other points to be considered before generating the e-invoicing, and how that system is working for the generation of IRN. So, what is the current scenario of issuing invoice? What we are doing currently? Right now, each registered person is generating invoice on their system and issuing it to the buyer. Every registered person or supplier has their own accounting software. So, from whose they are issuing the invoice, is generating the invoices. They have their own formats in which they are generating the invoices. However, and the same issues to the buyer. What supplier has to do now? The process of generating the invoice in their own accounting software is the same. Supplier will continue to generate the invoices in their system as usual, as he is doing right now. But before issuing it to the buyer, supplier has to report those details of the invoices, these invoices, to the IRP portal, that is the e-invoicing portal. And what e-invoicing portal will do, e-invoicing portal will validate those invoices in respect to the correctness of the data provided, HSN, supplier and recipient, GST and all, and issue an IRN code and the QR code. IRN number and the QR code. Then supplier has to print that QR code on the invoice to be finally issued to the buyer, and then issue the invoice to the buyer. So before issuing the invoice to the buyer, supplier has to report these invoices to the e-invoicing portal, and the e-invoicing portal will provide the QR code, and then then supplier can issue these invoices to the buyer. So before going onto the legal provisions, I would like to first cover what is the e-invoicing and why e-invoicing has been introduced by the government. But so e-invoicing means reporting the details in a specified document to the government portal, government notified portal, and obtaining a reference number. See, what is the confusion in the industry right now is the supplier think the persons industry is most of the persons has confusion that the e-invoicing means generation of an invoice onto the government portal. However, it does not. It is just the reporting of the invoices in a specified format as provided by the government onto the government portal. And when you provide these details to the government portal will give you a reference number. Will you give you a reference number? That reference number has to be printed onto the invoice, and then you can issue the invoice to the buyer. So it is not a issuance of invoice from the government portal. It is just providing the details to the government portal. So why e-invoicing? Why e-invoicing has been introduced? See, currently what is the scenario is every supplier has their own softwares, different accounting softwares. Every supplier issues the invoices in their own format. They all have their own formats. Like the invoice issued from the SAP is the different, and invoice issues from the tele software is different, though they both provide the same type same details, same particulars, the supplier details, the recipient details, the items which the supplier is selling, the amount, tax rate, and conditions of the selling. They all are almost like the same, but the format of both the invoices are different, and the same cannot be read by either of the software or to the government softwares as well. The government software also cannot read the invoice issued by the supplier because they are issued from the different softwares. So first the issue is the format of the invoices are different, though the information in the invoices are almost the same. And after that, what businesses has to do right now is, as I earlier said, we first issue the invoice from our system, from our accounting software. Then we upload the details to the e-way bill portal for generation of an e-way bill in goods of supply of goods, and then we again punch the data to the GST common portal for filing of our GSTR1. In this process, in normal human being makes many error. Like in many cases, we have seen that while punching the data to the GSTR1, the employee has entered the recipient 2 GSTIN instead of recipient 1 GSTIN, or he has mentioned the wrong place of supply. He has, in case of B2C supplies, he has mentioned the wrong place of supply, or he recorded the data into the wrong tax head, or in case of e-way bills, the employee wrongly entered the incorrect PIN code, or the amount we employee added the incorrect amount. So because of these errors, and especially in case of e-way bills, if we commit an error in an e-way bill by generating an e-way bill, and the same is verified by the proper officer while goods in movement, then that goods will get seized, and officer will charge that 100% tax and 100% penalty on the same, and in some cases 200% of penalty. And then we will have to file the appeal for the same to get our goods released, and it increase in our burden, it increase in our litigation cost due to the human clerical errors. So by introducing the e-invoicing, that error will be removed. When we are reporting the invoices to the IRP portal will automatically IRP portal will automatically transfer the data to the e-way bill portal, and the e-way bill will gets automatically generated. If the part A of the e-way bill will get automatically generated wherever required, and in case of, and if we provide the details of the transportation as well, then the part A and B both will automatically be generated. And the same in case of GSTR1, the error of changing the data or changing reporting the incorrect amount will be removed, because the IRP portal itself is transferring the data into our GSTR1. And another benefit is the another one is supplier recipient only can see the data after filing of GSTR1 by the supplier. Suppose a supplier does not file his GSTR1 by the due date, or he files the GSTR1 after 2-3 months. Supplier recipient cannot see what the supplier is gonna to be upload, whether he is going to be whether he will upload the details correctly or not. So by this e-invoicing, the details will automatically be transferred to the GSTR1 immediately, and on the other hand, the same will be reflected onto the GSTR2A of the recipient. So the human error between the generation of the e-way bill and filing of GSTR1 will be removed automatically. So in e-invoicing, under e-invoicing system, the process of as I earlier mentioned above, the process will be same. We have to generate the invoice as we are generating in our system. Before issuing of the invoice to the buyer, we have to report these invoices in a specified format called schema INV1 to the government portal. And the government portal will provide us the details. So government portal will provide us the IRN and QR code, and we have to print these QR code and IRN onto the invoice, and then we can issue the same to the buyer. So the tools we have 2-3 modes of uploading the data onto the government portal. Like the government has provided the access Excel offline tool or JSON, and through which we can generate the JSON and upload the same into the government portal, or we can upload the same to the API integration as well. So now we will be covering. Let's see what the section says. Rule says. The e-invoicing provisions are governed by the Rule 48 of CGST rules. Sub-rule 448, government has notified the class of has notified some class of registered person who are required to generate issue the e-invoicing under sub-rule 4 of Rule 48. The registered person whose aggregate turnover in a financial year. So as per this rule, government has notified the class of registered person who is required to issue the invoice on the selected transactions. So these class of registered persons has to upload the data onto the government portal, and then IRN will be generated, and then government portal will generate the IRN. If the class of registered person on whose e-invoicing is applicable issues the e-invoice other than that specified under sub-rule 4 of Rule 48, then the invoice will be deemed as not issued by the supplier. It will not be treated as an e-invoice. And the sub-rule 6 of Rule 48 says that where the e-invoicing is applicable, issuance of invoice in duplicate or triplicate is not required. We issue the duplicate invoices in case of supply of services. The first copy is for the recipient, and first copy is for the original is for the recipient, and the second is for the supplier. And in case of triplicate copy, in case of supply of goods, we issue the invoices in triplicate. First one for the recipient original, second one for the transporter, and third one for the recipient. Supplier. So on whose the e-invoicing is applicable, every registered persons whose aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is more than the 50 crore rupees are required to issue the e-invoicing. Earlier earlier these for those suppliers whose turnover are exceeding 50 crore rupees, the e-invoicing has been made applicable from 1st of April. However, for the suppliers whose turnover is exceeding 100 crore, it was applicable from 1st of January 2021. And for the suppliers whose turnover is exceeding 500 crore rupees, the same was applicable from 1st of October 2020. So here the word has been used as in any preceding financial year from 2017-18 onwards. So what it means in any preceding financial year, it means that if suppose a supplier is having his turnover in financial year 2018-19 as a 52 crore. So and after that and in financial year 1920 and 2021, the turnover of the supplier was 45 and 48 crore respectively. So now the government wide notification 5 2021 has made applicable the e-invoicing for those suppliers whose aggregate turnover in any of the present financial year from 2017 or 14 onwards is more than 50 crore rupees. So though preceding financial the previous financial year of previous financial supplier is not crossing the turnover limit. However, as he has crossed the limit in 2018-19, he has the e-invoicing provisions are applicable on the supplier, and he has to issue the e-invoicing, because it the in rule it has been used as in any preceding financial year and not in previous financial year. So what is the meaning of the aggregate turnover? Aggregate turnover means the aggregate value of all the taxable supplies, excluding the however the supplies on which reverse charge however the inverse supplies on which supplier is required to pay the tax on reverse charge basis will not be included in calculating the aggregate turnover, because that turnover is not of the supplier. So and the exempt supplies, export of goods or services or both, or interstate supplies of the persons having the same permanent account number. So the limit will be the turnover limit will be seen on pan India basis. So to be computed an all India basis. So here one thing is to be considered is the suppliers of the exempt supplies. Suppose a supplier has only exempt supplies and he is crossing the turnover limit, but he has taken registration of GST. Then in these cases, the e-invoicing provisions are applicable on that person, and he has to issue the e-invoice of the transactions. Now, what are the documents and the supplies which are covered under the e-invoicing? The documents covered are e-invoices, credit note, debit note. As the credit and debit note are just a supplementary invoice. It is just a supplementary. It is a part of the invoice, and it is not anything extra. Invoice includes bill of supply as well. So on what supplies e-invoicing is applicable? On B2B supplies to SEZ with or without payment, exports and deemed export. However, e-invoicing has not been applicable on the B2C supplies till now. So if has not been made applicable onto the B2C supplies. The same B2C supply in case of B2C supplies, the supplier will continue to issue the invoice as usual, and will report the same onto the GSTR1 and e-way will portal on manual basis as well, through any mode they are doing till now. So the sectors exempted from issuance of e-invoicing are special economic zone units. If a supplier is located in a special economic zone unit, SEZ is a special economic SEZ, then he is not required to issue the e-invoicing. Insurer or banking company or financial institutions, including a non-banking financial company, is also not required to issue the e-invoice. Goods transport agency, supplier of passenger transportation services, suppliers of service by way of admission to exhibition of cinematograph films in multiplex scenes, or where the the supplies are received by notified persons from an unregistered person attracting reverse charge or through import of services. So if supplies on which provisions of section 9 4 are applicable, and the import of service in these cases supplier uh, because these are the inward supplies, so supplier is not required to issue the e-invoice. What is the process of issuance of e-invoice? The process is same as I mentioned earlier. Supplier will continue to create their GST invoices on their own accounting softwares as usual, and after creation he has to report the same onto the invoice registration portal, and then the IRP portal will provide the IRN number and the QR code against the same after the validations, and then the supplier can issue the invoice to the receiver after printing the QR code. See here, what is the printing of QR code is mandatory as per rule 46R of the CGST rules. However, if a supplier has printed the QR code on the invoice, then he may choose not to print the IRN number onto the invoice. However, QR code is required to be mandatorily printed or required to be mandatorily printed onto the invoice. What is the e-invoicing flow? Here, seller to have a system, or offline utility to prepare or receive the JSON. Then he will upload the same onto the IRP portal. I will be covering the technical aspects and how to upload the JSON in a later part. So IRP will validate these invoices in regards to the GSTN of the supplier, HSN tax rate mentioned, correct HSN code, etc., and generate the IRN against the same, and then he will send the details to the GST system and not to the IRP and not to the supplier directly. Then the GST system will again look out for the duplicacy of the IRN if any, and he will remove the duplicacy, and he will it and it will add a QR code of the IRN unique and it will GST system will generate a unique QR code against the IRN, and then he will provide the same to the IRP portal. IRP portal will then sign the JSON, and if the data is required to be pushed to the e-waybill portal, then he will push the data and then provide to the supplier. But IRP will provide to the supplier the JSON of the IRN. Signed JSON JSON will be signed by the IRP and e-waybill if it has been generated, and then the supplier can issue the same to the buyer. GST system will store the data, and it will auto populate the details into the GSTR 1 and 2A of the supplier as well, and then buyer can view the invoices details in their GSTR 2A on a real-time basis. Currently, it is working on a T+1 basis. It is the GSTR 1 and 2A are updated on every night. If we upload the details today, that is on 8th of May, if we generate the IRN today, that is on 8th of May, then the same will be updated in the GSTR 1 and 2A tomorrow, that is on 9th May. So, what are the modes of reporting to the IRP? We have discussed the process of generation of IRN and QR code and the issuance of invoices. Now we will be covering the modes of operating and modes of reporting to the IRP. How a supplier can report the information and details to the IRP portal. So taxpayer need a system or utility. Taxpayer has a system and utility to report the e-invoicing in a JSON format, and then he will create a JSON file, and then he can signed e-invoice in the and to IRP and receive the signed invoice. What are the modes? API based directly, integration with the taxpayer system directly. So in this direct integration with the API, this service this method is currently has been made available only for the large taxpayers. That is the taxpayers having turnover exceeding 500 crore rupees. They only can integrate their system directly to the API for the generation of IRN. However, for the suppliers whose turnover is below 500 crore rupees, they have to integrate this their system through GSP or ASP, or they can upload the details through the bulk generation tool available onto the government portal. If they do not wish to go with the GSP or ASP, they can do it on a they can do it by themselves through the bulk generation tools available. Uh, so we are talking about the IRP portal again and again through in the previous slides. So what is the IRP portal? But IRP portal is basically a website for uploading or reporting of the invoices by a notified persons. It is a website where a supplier can log into their accounts and upload the details for the generation of the IRN in a bulk only. So the government-wide notification 69 2019 has introduced the 10 portals for this purpose. However, only one portal is active right now. The rest are not active, and they will be activated based on the requirement of the data. Based on the workload on the same and workload on the same. So, and IRP will only be a pass-through portal. It will not store or archive e-invoice data. And taxpayer can access the invoices generated through IRP within 48 hours. After that, the same will be deleted automatically. So, this is a very important point. It need to be considered by each and every person. Through IRP, that is through the invoice generation portal, IRP portal, you can only report the data and get the IRN and QR code. It does not save the data. It has only a saving capacity of 48 hours. As if I want to download the data as on today, then I can download the data only tomorrow and today, and not the of 6th of May. So the supplier, every registered taxpayer who has to issue the e-invoicing need a separate storage to store the details, and they should remember to download these details. They should remember to download these details immediately. If they will not download the details, then the same will get deleted. This issue will be faced by those taxpayers who are generating the IRNs by themselves and not using any GSP or ASP. As the GSP and ASP will have their own storage, and they can store they are storing the e-invoicing data by themselves. However, the persons who are generating IRN or QR code by themselves, they need to take special care of these things, as if they forgot to download the data and store the data, it will not be available after 48 hours. So it provides a facility to bulk generation of the IRN through the offline tool available, and the uploaded invoice data will digitally signed by the IRP. IRP will provide the signed data. After validating, IRP will generate the IRN, and after validating, provide a signed JSON, which will be considered in the invoice. IRP will perform some validations on the invoices. As I said, before generating the IRN or QR code, IRP will validate the invoices. in invoice validation, IRP will see the GSTN of the supplier and recipient, whether the invoice number has not been entered duplicate, the IRN has not been, if IRN has been generated against the invoice number earlier, then the IRN will against this invoice will not be generated. HSN is correct or not, tax rate has been used correctly or not. So on the invoices, so IRP will perform some these kind of validations on the invoices data and uploaded by the supplier. And in for those transactions, if any error is found for some transactions, then the same will be then the error will be reported to the taxpayer, and for the transactions who are validated successfully, the IRN against the same will be generated. So and if the error report, if the IRP generates an error report, the taxpayer can download the error report, correct the error, and upload the details again. In case and commissioner has the power to relax the rules if there are any issues, if someone is if there is any internet connectivity issues, or in any other scenarios like the pandemic time, they delayed the introduction of the IRN, introduction of the e-invoicing due to the COVID. All about what is the IRN? We have discussed the IRP. What is IRP? IRP is a portal who generates the IRN and QR code based on the information provided by the supplier. Now, what is the IRN? IRN is a unique 64 character hash or string. So IRP will generate a 64 unique character hash or string, which will be called as IRN. A GST for the suppliers who are required to generate the e-invoicing, the invoice will be valid only if he has a valid IRN. If the invoice does not have any IRN, or an IRN they printed is not valid, then the invoice will not be deemed as valid, and it will be deemed as the invoice has not been issued by the supplier. So IRN need not to be printed on e-invoices, as the government has mandated the QR code printing of QR code on the invoices mandatory by Rule 46R of the CGST rules. So and the QR code contains the IRN as well. So printing of IRN on the invoice is not mandatory, and one can skip that. An invoice or document number which was reported for obtaining IRN can be used again in a financial year. This is also need to be taken care of. Suppose if we report a invoice incorrectly onto the IRP portal, and the IRN against the same has been generated, and if we cancel the IRN, then the supplier cannot use the invoice number again. He has to cancel that invoice number and issue a new invoice, and use a new invoice number, or generate a new invoice, and against which only the IRN can be generated. So suppose we give suppose an taxpayer uploaded a wrong provided the wrong GSTN of the recipient, then and IRN against the say, however the GSTN is valid or active, is a active GSTN, so IRN will be generated against the same, and we found out this error on the same day. So and we cancel the IRN. We cancel the IRN immediately, but the invoice number we used to generate the IRN, on which IRN has already been generated, which we have cancelled as well, but which we have cancelled, the same cannot be used again. We have to use the new invoice number only. In IRP, no prescribed time window for reporting to IRP. So there is no bar on the date to be used for against the invoices. However, suppose if as on today, we are talking about on 8th May, we can report the invoices of the previous any date, like of 1st of January as well, if we were if the e-invoicing were applicable on us. Suppose take an example of the taxpayer who were so, who are whose turnover, aggregated turnover, was more than 500 crore in any of the preceding financial year, then he can use the invoice of 1st of October 2020 as well for the generation of the IRP if the same has not been generated earlier. IRN can be cancelled within 24 hours only. However, the of the generation of the IRN. However, if connected e-way bill is active or the e-way bill has already been verified the proper officer, then the cancellation of IRN is not possible. Suppose we found an error in the IRN and we want to cancel, then we have to first cancel the e-way bill issued against the same IRN if issued, and if the e-way bill is still active, we try to cancel the IRN, then it will show an error and it will not allow us to cancel that IRN. So before cancelling an IRN, the IRN can be cancelled in within 24 hours only. And in case of cancel, if in case we found the error in the IRN at a later stage, suppose after 24 hours, then the same can be added. Then we have to amend these details through the GSTR1 only. We can remove. We can add or delete the data auto-populated in the GSTR1 at any time. However, if we change the data into the GSTR1, the same will be flagged to the proper officer for verification, and the proper officer on the basis of the same can issue a notice to you to the registered taxpayer and ask for the reasons of the same. Amendment is not possible in the IRN if we want to amend the IRN, then it is not possible. We have to cancel the IRN in total. We cannot change the details in the IRN, and then if we have to cancel the complete IRN and then generate the new IRN. If any registered person wants to do so, then the same can be carried out on GST portal only. However, the auto-populated invoice on the GSTR1 can be amended can be amended while filing the GSTR1, but IRN cannot be amended. Quick response code. So IRP portal will provide us the one is going to provide us two things. One is the IRN number, and the second one is the QR code. So we have discussed the IRN. Now we are discussing the QR code. So IRP along with the IRP portal will also gives us a QR code, and the QR code will enable the offline verification. Basically, any QR code can be verified through any QR code scanner. Like nowadays, we all have QR code in our smartphone. So if any QR code is printed on any invoice, then that QR code can be scanned, and the information in this QR code will be reflected on our screens. App can also be downloaded from the GST government portal. The path of the same is this: go visit the e-invoicing portal, then tap on the help section and the tools, and the verify the QR code app. Verify QR code can be downloaded. The app to verify the same can also be downloaded. Offline app. Basically, it is a offline app. QR code provided by IRP is mandatory to be placed on the invoices. As I said, the QR code is to be mandatorily printed on the invoice. However, printing of QR code in separate paper is not allowed. Suppose we issue an invoice and we say that we provide and we print the QR code on a separate paper and attach the same with the invoice. That will be termed that is not allowed. We have to print the QR code on the invoice only, on the top of the invoice or anywhere. Acknowledge number and date given by the IRP are only for reference, and they need not to be printed on the invoice. Being a 15-digit number, the acknowledge number, while generating the IRN or QR code, The IRP will also provide an acknowledgement number as well, which can also be used to extract the details from the IRP portal as well, and which can and the same can also be used for generating an e-way bill as well, printing generating. How one can verify the authenticity or correctness of the e-invoice by uploading the signed JSON on or the signed QR code into the invoice system. Through this path, visit the e-invoicing site, tap on the search tab, then tap on the verify signed invoice. Alternatively, the QR app can also be downloaded and can be verified. So, what will QR code consist of? The QR code the QR code will consist of our entire invoice data, like the GSTN of the supplier and the recipient, invoice number as provided by the supplier, generation of the date of generation of the invoice value, number of the line items in invoice. It will only show the number of the line items and not the whole of the line item. As it will be a very huge data if it will show the line items. So it will only show the number of the line items in a invoice. HSN code of the main item only. The line item having the highest taxable value, HSN code of the line item having the highest code value will be shown in while after scanning the QR code, and a unique reference number, that is IRN will also be shown. IRN will also be. So if the generated QRN will consist of these details, which will be shown while after scanning the QR code. What are the benefits? So now we have discussed the legal provisions, what are the IRP, IRN, QR code, the legal provisions. Now we are moving towards the how will the e-invoicing will benefit the authorities and taxpayers. So curb in tax evasion. So e-invoicing will give the real-time information to the taxpayers. As the real-time, e-invoicing helps in real-time access to the data and will lessen the scope of the manipulation of invoices, as invoices will get generated before carrying out a transaction. This will further reduce the scope of the fake GST invoices, and similarly, only genuine ITC can be claimed. So the ITC of the transactions which are reflecting in the GST 2A of the supplier can only be claimed. So if a recipient says that I am having the invoice, however, the same and the same is not reflecting on the in his GST 2A, then the ITC cannot be claimed against the same. So only the genuine ITC can be claimed. As the input tax credit or output tax detail is readily available, it becomes easier for the tax officials to track the fake input tax credit. So tax officers can track the transactions, whether the transaction is real or not. Compliance become part of natural business process and supply chain system. As I earlier said, for the suppliers who are generating IRN, who are reporting the details to the IRP portal and generating IRN, issuing the e-invoices, the details of the same will automatically be transferred to the e-way portal and the GST portal for the generation of the IRN. So it will reduce in the compliances, as the supplier registered taxpayer does not need to punch the data again and again onto the IRP onto the e-way portal and GST1. One time updation of the data will be suffice for the same. Real-time updation in GST2A, the same will be updated in GST2A immediately, and recipient can verify the details and claim the input tax credit on the same. Reduction in fraud, as the real-time data will be available, tax authorities can track down the transactions, and which will lead to the reduction in the frauds. Reduction of data entry error, the taxpayer does not have to manually punch the transactions again and again on GST1 and GST portals and e-way bill portals. So it will it will reduce the data entry time and the errors in recording and the error in the same. So it will Under the e-invoicing system, the invoices will be uploaded onto the common portal, which will facilitate the multi-purpose reporting. All the invoices, once authenticated, will get transferred to the GST portal and e-web portal on a real-time basis. This auto-population will eliminate the need for the manual data entry while filing GST returns and reduce the data entry errors. Allows interoperability. The invoice issued, the QR code can be read by any software. So the different accounting softwares can now read the invoices issued by the different accounting software, another different accounting softwares through the QR code and the IRNs. QR code, the invoices are essential for conducting the amount of ITC. And SSC may misplace an invoice that was issued. Section 16 provides a condition that supplier necessarily has to, recipient has the valid document in hand to claim the ITC. So if the recipient misplaces the invoice, he can download the invoice by scanning the QR code n number of times. And the supplier, if supplier and recipient both can download the invoices in a PDF format n number of times, and that will be termed as a valid invoice. Invoice financing, as the same is as the suppliers are the details are updating on the real time basis. The suppliers can the bank can finance bank can finance on the basis of this invoice generated through the IRP portal, as the same has been validated by the GST in itself, GST portal, and bank can finance against the same. Dispute among the transaction parties get reduced, like I mentioned earlier, that before, while reporting the data into the GST portal, if we are issuing a human can commit the error and upload the data and can upload the GST wrong GST onto the portal, and the recipient will not get the ITC against the same, as the same is not reflecting in his GST 2A. So by e-invoicing, supplier registered taxpayer will be uploading the correct data, and the same will be automatically transferring to the GST 1 and the GST 2A of the recipient. So there will be no human error, and there will be no dispute between the supplier and recipient, as the recipient will be getting the ITC on a real time basis. Reconciliation issues get reduced as the data is automatically flowing between the GST 1, 3B, 2A. So we can reconciliation will be reduced. So we cover the benefits, some benefits of the e-invoicing. Now we are gonna cover the disadvantages of e-invoicing as well. Every system has its own benefits and flaws. So we have now discussed the benefits of the e-invoicing. Now we are gonna cover the disadvantages of the e-invoicing system. By introducing e-invoicing, a registered taxpayers on whose the e-invoicing is applicable, is applicable, has to make the crucial changes in their accounting software and has to integrate the ASPs and GSP, which are costly, and the some small taxpayers can't afford these changes. So it is a major disadvantages of this, as the registered taxpayers has to undergo major changes in their accounting softwares. Sorting of B2B and B2C invoices, like the currently e-invoicing can be generated on the invoices on B2B invoices only. So as registered taxpayers who are supplying their goods or services to the B2B suppliers as well as B2C suppliers, they has to store the transactions to the B2C suppliers, and they has to store the transactions regularly for the B2C invoices and have to keep track of them separately. Cancellation and amendment of invoice is not possible, as discussed. So cancellation is possible only within 24 hours, and amendment is not possible. And if we do these things, and the same will be the officer separately, so it may increase the litigation cost to a supplier. And alternate arrangement of storage of data, as the IRP can store will provide you the only 48 hours of data, so you have to keep store the data separately, so it will require an alternate arrangement of storage of data. Reconciliation of e-invoicing data on GST1. In case of cancellation or amendment in invoices at a later stage, then then registered person has to reconcile the data between the GST1 e-way bill and e-invoices. It will lead to a time-consuming approach. So, as the mentioned in point B, it is not applicable on B2C transactions. So we have to keep track of the same separately. Workflow changes to process other type of documents. The documents in system we might have to uh, create a separate ledger for the different kind of transactions which we might be doing in the same ledger. Some other points, we have covered the advantages and disadvantages of the e-invoicing. Now we are going to cover the things to be considered before uploading the data or after uploading the data onto the IRP portal. Requirement of digital signature for generation of IRN or QR code. The digital requirement digital signature is not required, or the OTP is not required. We can just upload the data by logging into our account, and the IRN against the same will be generated. Physical copy of invoice. It is an advantage where the as per rule 38A2 of CGST rules, where e-invoicing is applicable, the QR code having an embedded invoice IRN number is in having the IRN number in it may be produced electronically, like the truck driver can show the QR code in their mobile number. The tax officer will scan that QR code and will the details of the same will be and he will get the details of the same. So the physical carrying of the physical copy is not mandatory in case e-invoicing has been issued. If we default in complying the provisions of this act, then the penalty under section 122 of the CGST or SGST will be applicable. That is the 10,000 on an amount equivalent to the tax evaded, or whichever is higher. Partial amendment in invoice is not possible. We have to either cancel the invoice in totality. Auto population of data will be auto populated into the GST2 immediately on a real time basis. If in case if we provide part A and part B, then the e-way bill will be generated automatically. Part A will be generated automatically in all the cases wherever required, and part B will also be generated if we provide the complete data, like truck number, truck driver, truck details, and transporter details, etc. Other charges, what we are doing what we were currently doing is, in case of freight and insurance charges, we were adding the same as we were just after the items in an invoice, we were showing them separately in a at the below of the total. So now what we have to in e-invoicing, this thing will not be allowed. So we have to create a separate line item for the same. TCS will not. There is no mechanism to add the TCS, so the same has to be added in the other charges only. Invoice schema is only to report the specified invoice particulars to the IRP. Once IRN is obtained from the portal, the business may add any other elements not relevant to GST while issuing the invoice finally to the buyer. So if the registered taxpayers who are issuing e-invoicing, after providing the details to the IRP and getting the IRN or QR code, he may add any details he wants to add in the invoice to be issued finally to the buyer. For items outside GST levy, separate invoice may be given by such businesses. Example, hotel invoicing. This is also a important point. In case of it will majorly in case of a hotel industry, suppose the hotel is providing us the accommodation, food, and food and beverages as well, and beverages covers the alcohol. So if he is providing us alcohol along with the food and accommodation, then and the e-invoicing is applicable on that hotel, then he has to issue a separate invoice for the alcohol charges, as a supplier cannot show the non GST supplies onto the IRP portal, cannot upload the details of the non GST supplies onto the IRP portal. So he may have to issue the separate invoice in these cases. In case any registered person crosses the threshold limit during the financial year, in the look, e-invoicing is applicable, can be applicable only from the beginning of a financial year, as the rule 48.4 covers rule has as the word used in rule 48.4 has are in any preceding financial year. So if you cross the limit during the financial year, then in these cases also you have in these cases as well, the e-invoicing will be applicable from the beginning of the following financial year, and not from the not from the middle of the financial year. The table number of 4A, B, C, and 6B or 6C, 6A, 9B, the following tables will be auto populated from the e-invoicing portal in the GSTR1, and the registered taxpayer does not require to change the details again and again, or enter punch the data again and again. However, if a registered person wants to put their own data, so in these cases a reset button has been enabled recently onto the GST common portal. So the registered person can reset the data and upload his own data. However, if the as I have earlier mentioned, the changes will be flagged to the proper officer. Taxpayer will be able to able to edit the auto-populated data in GSTR1. Currently, data is being pulled out on every night, and will be pulled once every night. So data uploaded in an invoice system on T will be available on T plus basis in GSTR1, GSTR2, and 6A. So we have covered the theoretical aspect of the e-invoicing, like the legal provisions and the legal provisions, its benefit and advantages, the what is the IRP portal, IRN portal, what is the process of IR generation of IRN, on whose the e-invoicing is applicable. Now we are going to cover the technical aspects of the same. In technical aspects, we will be covering the tools available for the onto the IRP portal for bulk generation of the bulk uploading of the e-invoicing, process of generation of IRN onto the portal, and functionalities available onto the portal which are very useful for a registered taxpayer, or the same can be accessed through the, however the functionalities can be accessed through the taxpayers who are not registered as well. Tools available onto the IRP portal for bulk uploading. So we discussed the modes of uploading the data onto the IRP portal. The modes were API based and API based, and the bulk utility based. So in API based, the API the different ASP and GSP provides their own formats and own process of reporting the data to the IRP portal. So we cannot cover the same, as the different ASP and GSP has their own systems to report to process these transactions. However, we are gonna cover the bulk uploading of the tools available onto the IRP portal for bulk uploading of the invoices. So we have two types of tools available onto the IRP portal. First one is GEPP, that is GST e-invoice preparing and printing tool. In this tool, one can one can put the data one by one, invoice wise data one by one, and after and he can generate the IRN one by one or in one go for the transactions he added throughout a day or in 10 to 15 days as per the time required, because IRP has no time limit for the invoice. So through this utility he can however it cannot be it can be used only for the small taxpayers, and on small taxpayers the e-invoicing is not applicable right now, uh, as they for the large taxpayers like having the 50 turnover exceeding 50 crore turnover, they cannot add practically they cannot add the invoices one by one, so they have to either use the bulk generation bulk uploading unit utility, or they have to use the ASP GSP or API integration API they have to use the API integration only. So JSON preparation tools. Four type of formats are available onto the GST portal for the bulk uploading of the invoices. Format A, B, C, and D. So in format A, there is only single worksheet. This format is consist of a single worksheet only, in which invoice and item details can be entered. Business having one or two items in the invoice can use this format. This format is advisable for invoices largely with B2B transactions. The seller GST and details are entered in the profile as a one-time entry. As the item details are entered in the same worksheet, it is to be ensured that the same invoice details repeat for all the items of the invoice. So in format A, only single worksheet has been provided in which the seller has to provide the complete details, the line items in a invoice, line item in a invoice. So it is recommended to for those suppliers for those taxpayers who are having less items in the items in their invoices, as less items in their invoices only. After that, format B consists of two worksheets. One is for the invoice wise details and second is for the item wise details. The in this format as well, supplier taxpayer has to enter the enter he, personal details on a one time basis, and the invoice wise details after that. However, in this form, he can enter the invoice details separately, and the item details particular to these invoices separately. And so format B consists of a two worksheet in which invoices and item details can be entered separately. This format is advisable for the businesses having many items in the invoices. As the item details are entered in different worksheet, ensure that every item will be referenced with document number, document type, and document date of the invoice. So in this format, we have to take care of these details, like the as we are entering the invoices, invoice number, invoices, and the items details separately. So we need to take care that items. Against the items, we mention the proper invoice number and the document date and the document type. Otherwise, the same will be misplaced and the IR will be generated, and the details will be uploaded. Incorrect details will be uploaded. So the payment details and reference details cannot be entered in the format B, as the payment details and reference details can be entered in the format C. So the payment details and reference details cannot be entered here. Therefore, the document and the other information such as export details can be entered in the invoice worksheet itself. If e-way bill needs to be generated, then the part B details can also be entered in the invoice sheet. In format B, you can also enter the part B details, and the same will be transferred to the e-way bill portal for the generation of the e-way bill. In format C. So format A and B has been discussed. Now in format C consists of 5 worksheets in which a taxpayer can enter the details, invoice details, item details, payment details, reference details, and additional details separately, but can be entered separately. This format is advisable for the businesses having many items in the invoice with the payment details and reference details, etc. Like a supplier, in first sheet you will enter the invoice details, and the in second sheet you will enter the item details. In third sheet you will enter the payment details. In fourth sheet you will give reference to these details, provide the reference of these details, and in fifth sheet you will provide an additional details, if any, or as options provided on in the sheets can be. So the format is this format is advisable to for those businesses only who has many items in their invoices. Otherwise they will be otherwise they will misplace the items, and it will lead to incorrect uploading of the data. As the item details are entered in different worksheet, ensure that every item will be referred with document number, document type, and document date of the invoice. The other information, such as export details, can be entered in the invoice sheet itself. If the e-way bill needs to be generated, the part B can also be put as similar to the format B. If the e-way bill need to be generated, then the part B details can also be provided. In format D, like in format A, there were only one sheet. In format B, for the invoice and item details. In format B, there were separate sheets for the invoice and item details. In format C, there were 5 sheets for the invoice, item details, payment details, reference details, and the additional details. However, in format D, for all these informations, there is only single sheet in which you can enter all these details. So the format is and this format is advisable for the businesses having the large number of items in the invoice, having payment details and reference details, etc. If you do not wish to use the form C, where you have to add the details separately and then give reference to the reference sheet, then you can use this format where you can add the details in single sheet only. And similarly, if you wish to generate the e-way bill also, then you can provide the part B of the e-way bill, and the e-way bill will be generated. We covered the formats available onto the GST portal for the bulk generation of the invoices. Now let's go to the step-by-step process of generation of invoice reference number, IRN number, onto the government portal. First, you have to download the bulk generation tool from e-invoice portal before logging into your account. The generation tool can be downloaded before logging into your account. So if you are issuing IRN, if you are generating IRN by themselves, then you have to first download the then you have to first download the tool by following this path. Visit the e-invoicing portal, go into the help section, go into the tool section, and then the bulk generation tool. Download the bulk generation tool. It will give you it will give you the following options, like e-invoicing JSON preparation format A, format B, format C, format D. Download the format as per your applicability and convenience, and then after downloading any of the utility you wish to use, enter the details. In all the formats, you have to enter the details one time only, your profile in one time only, and it will be saved for the further use. Then in step 4, enter all the details of the invoices in the necessary field as given in the invoice sheet. The details marked as mandatory need to be provided mandatorily, and rest optional details is on you whether you wish to mention or not. Like this here you can see some details has been marked as red, like this, so this and this and this. So you have to provide these details mandatorily, and the optional fields can be left out as blank. After uploading after uploading the details, after inserting the details into the sheet, then you have to click onto the validate button to validate the invoices. This is the these are the details required to be entered into the tool. And after entering all the details, then you need to click on this validate button, and when all the entries will be validated in the sheet, then this prepare JSON button will be active, and you can prepare the JSON after, and you can generate the JSON. And after generation of the JSON, after upon successful validation, click on to the prepare JSON button. The JSON file will now be generated, containing details of the multiple invoices entered, and the same can be uploaded onto the IRP portal for bulk generation of IRN. Now log into your after generation of after preparation of JSON or generation of JSON file, log into your account through the login into your account, and click onto the bulk upload button. Where, after logging after logging into the IRP portal, this window will appear to you, where you can find the invoices generated, or details of the invoices generated, details of the invoices cancelled. There are many options which are available onto the government IRP portal, like bulk in e-invoicing tab. You will find the bulk upload, cancel, print, or bulk IRN cancel options. In MIS report, you will find out the you can see the generated e-invoices and generated e-invoices and cancelled e-invoices. However, the details of the only 42 hours of the only 42 hours details can be seen. In user management, you can manage the sub users. Like if you wish if you think that the portal will be used by different employees for the different generation of the e-invoices, then you can create the sub users by visiting this tab. And API generation, you can integrate the API through this tab. So we were now, after logging into your account, click onto the bulk upload tab onto the under e-invoicing. Upload the JSON generated through the offline utility by visiting the by browsing and selecting the file and upload. After uploading the JSON generated through the bulk offline tool to the e-invoicing system, and after request file is uploaded, the screen will be displayed. After and you and upload button, and screen will be displayed like this, regarding the number of the invoices in the file, the total number of the items in the file, and the invoices uploaded successfully, and the failed to upload, and the invoices failed to upload. And below that, you can see the IRN invoices against which IRN has been generated. And IRN will be a unique to each invoice, and hence be the unique identity for each invoice for the entire financial year in the entire GST system for a taxpayer. IRN and invoice number will be unique for the entire GST system for a financial year. The system will also update the invoice details to the e-way bill system, and e-way bill system will create the part A of the e-way bill using this data, to which only vehicle number will have to be attached in part B of the e-way bill. And if you have the vehicle details as well, you can provide, and the part B will also be generated. And this was the process to bulk upload the for the bulk uploading of the invoices and generation of the IRN. And by through this portal you can you can generate the bulk, cancel the IRN, and the you can also generate the bulk e-way bill as well by from the options available on this portal only. So on this portal, the options of bulk cancellation and bulk e-way bill generations has also been provided, and the utilities for the same has also been provided in the tools section, where you can download the utility, enter the details, and bulk generate the e-way bills and the cancel the IRN on a in bulk. So we have gone through with the process of generation of IRN through offline utility. It is a though it is a very simple process. It just we have to what we have to consider is we have to enter the correct data in the offline utility. If the data will be if data will not be correct and there will be error in the data, then and the same it will be we will get a validation error if it is if the error is of a validation. And suppose if we enter the wrong GSTN or enter the wrong value or enter the wrong item code, then the same then the iron then the system will not show the error against the same, as they are not the validation errors. So and the IRN against the same will be generated. So while entering the details in the offline utility, we have to just consider these things. Rest the process is very easy for generation of IRN, and anyone can generate the IRN by themselves without using any ASP API. Even for the small taxpayers, it is currently now applicable only for the taxpayers having aggregate turnover more than 50 crore, which are very few compared to the suppliers having turnover below 50 crore. Once it will be currently this tool is using is not the supplier taxpayers are not using this tool, is not popular basically, because the most of the suppliers are using API and GSP and ASPs for the generation of the IRP. However, once the same e-invoicing will be applicable to all the registered taxpayers, then this tool will be popular and only be popular. So now, what are the functionalities available onto the government portal? Which is supplier functionalities which are important, or anyone can refer these. Enabling of e-invoicing. If suppose if a supplier is required to issue the e-invoices, however the same has not however the IRP portal has not enabled his GSTN till now. He in that case as well, he can request the IRP portal for the issuance of this, for the enablement of the his GSTN by following this path. Go to the registration tab and tap on the e-invoicing enablement. It will ask for the information and will send the details to the IRP portal for the enablement. E-invoicing status of a taxpayer. We can verify whether a taxpayer is issuing the e-invoice is or not by following this path. Search, go to the search tab and go to the e-invoice status of the taxpayer, and after entering the GSTN and the CAPTCHA, it will show whether the supplier is issuing the e-invoices or not. Like this, enter the GSTN, enter the CAPTCHA, and it will show you the details whether the e-invoicing is not whether the e-invoicing is enabled for that taxpayer or not. Functionalities available onto the portal. GSTNs generating IRN. However, the portal does not provide who are required to generate the e-invoice or not, but the portal provides the list of the GSTNs who are issuing the e-invoices. So a taxpayer may download list the GSTINs who are currently doing e-invoicing. The list is uploaded on every fortnightly basis. Hence, any person before doing any business with the supplier can verify that whether he or she is doing e-invoicing or not by following this path. And the other informations, IRP portal has compiled the various other informations such as state codes, chapter-wise SSN codes, country codes, port codes, currency codes, UQC codes, tax rates, PIN codes, and PIN code state, etc. So, and the validation against the same has also been embedded onto the IRP portal. So, before entering the details into the offline utility, you can verify these codes and whether you have used the correct codes or not, so that the details will get easily validated without any error. And the path for the same is visit the e-invoicing portal, tap on the search tab, and go to the master group. And this is the last topic, dynamic QR code. Though not related to the e-invoicing, but it is the dynamic QR code is separate from the QR code to be printed on the e-invoices. So, and dynamic through notification 14 to 2020, government has mandated the entities with aggregate turnover more than 5 crore in any preceding financial year from 17-18 onwards to include a dynamic quick response code on their B2C invoices. It is also specified that a dynamic QR code made available to the buyer through digital display shall be deemed to be the having QR code. So, it is applicable on those taxpayers whose aggregate turnover is in any preceding financial year is more than 500 crore rupees, and it is applicable in case of B2C invoices. Taxpayer has to give an option of digital payment on the B2C supplies by printing the dynamic QR code on that supply, on that invoice. And however, it has been relaxed for now, and it will be made applicable from 1st of July 2021 only. So that's all, guys, from my side for today.
Thank you so much, sir.
If you guys having any query, you can ask in the chat box.
So maybe if we go before we go to the Q&A session, there are people asking about Optotax. So can I take 5 minutes of your time?
Sure.
And so just like Vishal ji and even Harshad ji had mentioned, technology has become a part of our lives right now, and we have to keep adapting for that. And one way that will help you is through Optotax, because Optotax is a knowledge sharing and technology platform which is trusted by over 50,000 tax professionals all across the country for their 1 million clients. So in Optotax, we try our level best to share knowledge with all tax professionals. So for this, we send daily updates. We organize these sort of webinars with all the best faculties throughout the country. So because upgrading knowledge is very important for our profession as well. And with respect to making GST compliance simple, we have a GST tool which has now become India's #1 GST platform with all your love and support. So like this only we come up with a lot of features in Optotax which will be very helpful to make your compliance easy. So I'll just take a simple and interesting example of how Optotax makes your profession easy. So for example, your one of your clients has just called you one day and he's just saying, ma'am, please give GSTR 2A for last year. I want GSTR 2A for 2021. So what do? You go to the portal, you ask your junior to go to the portal, that your junior will download for every month he'll go and he'll download for each month. And we know we have to wait 20 minutes for every month. And then we have to collate it again compile it again in a Excel sheet, right? So, but that is not required now if you're using Optotax, because in Optotax you can download GSTR 2A for the entire year within a minute. Just within a minute, entire 2A you can download within a minute in Optotax. So that's how it makes the profession very easy. And the best part is that it is exclusively free for tax professionals. Yes, any type of tax professional you are, it is exclusively free for you. And like this, we also receive feedback from a lot of professionals, and based on those feedback, we include various amounts of features in Optotax. For example, one feature that is very has kept everyone excited is direct GST payments for Optotax. So Optotax is the only will be the only GST platform where you can make direct GST payments apart from the GST portal, that is. So this will make your life easy during the due date. So you can easily make GST challan payments directly through Optotax, which is coming very soon. And also the e-invoicing facility also will soon be available on Optotax. So please be tuned. So apart from that, there are many other unique features. I mean, I cannot list down everything. There are so many. So here are just a few of it. Like you can download entire year acknowledgements, GSTR1 or GSTR3B acknowledgements for the entire year. And then you can do automatic purchase reconciliation with GSTR2 for the entire year, which is also very, very useful for tax professionals. And on the due dates, you have to file returns for so many people, so many of your clients. So in a dashboard, you can see the entire flow of which all clients have filed, which all clients have not filed. So all this you can view, and this will make your compliance and your office work very simple. And also, in case you have a lot of managers, you have a lot of staff, you can even delegate your work over there. So this is one of the ways in which Optotax will be very useful for you. And I have given a link in the chat. So if you fill, that's just a very small form, just takes 1 minute of your time. You can fill that up and you can get the details of Optotax on your mail, so you can start using it. So it's very simple. You just need Chrome. Don't even need to install anything. So just gst.optotax.com, and you can start using it even today. So this is the contact details. So I'll just wait for a minute here. So any issues, please contact us anytime. And anything else also, please, you can ask over the chat. Yes, sir, it's exclusively free for tax professionals.
So if anyone is having any queries, they can post it to the chat box. We'll assign to them.
I think there are lots of queries, sir. Are you able to see the chat box?
Actually, I guess.
Okay, because you rejoined, I think. Okay. Sir, I'll do one thing. I'll just copy paste and send the query so that you can view it.
Yeah, sure. Is there a time limit for generating invoice? No, there is no time limit for generation of an e-invoice. Till now, the IRP has not provided any bar on generation of on the basis of date for generation of e-invoice. However, it may be added in future, but right now you can generate the e-invoice for any date. However, only for the only from the date when it made applicable on you. So G Venkateshna, please print participate certification name, district code, and state name. It is not related to the e-invoicing. Multiple rate of tax in single invoice. How to generate e-invoice in JSON form? See which format to use. Please give me the suggestions. If you are having a small less transactions, like if you are having in only 1-2 item or 3-4 items in your invoice, then you can use format A. Or if you are having many transactions, you can use the format B as well. That purely depends on the type of the business or organization on you. Right now, I can't tell what to use. However, you can share the details through email so that I can suggest you the better. We are unable to generate debit note on IRP portal. What to do? See, in that case, if you are not able to generate the debit note on the IRP portal, then you may raise a query for the same, or firstly check the details whether you are firstly check the details whether you are entering the details correctly or not. Perform the validation, and if it shows any error, correct the validate correct that error. And if the error still persists, then raise the concern to the GSTN portal. If any invoice missed during uploading, how to correct it. uh, See, if you have missed any invoice while uploading, then you can generate the IRN for that invoice separately, or with the invoices you are generating afterwards. So it is not to correct anything, it is to generate the IRN again for that invoice only. In export e-invoices, what to mention in ship to details, whether the shipping name and details of port code or the outside country. See, the different in one has asked if export invoices e-invoice in export e-invoice, what to mention in ship to details, whether the shipping name and the details, or the port code, or the outside country party. It shows error after e-invoice is generated, created for e-way bill details. Error after e-invoice is e-way bill details. Right now, I cannot answer to this query, as it relates to the error in the e-way bill portal. So please share with more details, and we will revert you on the same. If we are using e-invoice, then needed to file GST1 from offline to. See, if you are having only the B2B transactions, and you are issuing the invoices through e-invoice, you are issuing the invoices through e-invoices portal, then you need not to enter the invoices detail on GSTR1 from offline tool. However, you have to file the GSTR1 in that case as well. But if the all the invoices are covered through the IRP portal, then you not need to use the GST1 offline tool. However, if any amendment are there in those invoices, then you have to enter these amendments manually only. Tarun, the government flows e-invoice data into GST1, but if we reset data to Tarun Duwaji has asked, government flows e-invoice data into GSTR1, but if he reset the GSTR1 and auto sync, the IRN gets disappeared. See, in these cases, in if there is any gaps between the data as per the IRP portal and data as uploaded by you, then these portals then these gaps will be flagged to the tax officials, and if found unsatisfactory or by the tax officials, then they can issue notice to you and ask you for the reasons of the differences, and you can revert to them for the same. The consequence is only this, that you just have to reply to the government and tell them why there are gaps between the data as per the IRP portal and as per your books of accounts. If the invoice is issuing for job worker, whether it will go to the, if you are any kind of invoices you are issuing, that will automatically go to the GSTR1 tab. However, in case of job works, if you are issuing the delivery challan, then the same will not be then the IRN is not required for these things. Hence, the same will not be will not go automatically. Is IRN to be generated for samples sent to the? Someone has asked, is IRN to be generated for samples sent to B2B and export customers on zero value basis? Yes. If you issue any kind of invoices, whether it is zero value B2B export customers, the IRN for every invoice will be required. if April month invoice RN was generated and now generated when someone has asked if any month invoice RN not generated and now generated when any issue like penalty will be leviable. Yes, the penalty under section 122 will be leviable on that part, as it is a default in the you have issued the IRN. It is not the any default of section 122. You have mentioned all the particulars and you have generated the IRN. A journal penalty will be levied by the GST official for the delay in the compliance under section 125 while giving invoices to the customers where the IRN needs to be printed. Uh, Someone has asked while giving the invoices to the customer whether IRN need to be printed or only QR code will work. See, in government has mandated the QR code in Rule 46R of the CGST rules, and QR code consists of the IRN number as well. So if you have already printed the QR code on the invoices, then mentioning of IRN is not necessary on the invoice. So only QR code is required to be printed basically. If IRP portal saves data only for 48 hours, then how does IRP detect duplicate invoices? See, IRP portal is a pass-through website only. It contains the data for the 48 hours only. And the IRP passes the data to the GST system where all the data is stored. So, however, a registered taxpayer cannot access to that portal, is not allowed to access to the GST system. So GST system has all the data. Only the IRP portal has the data of only 48 hours. So government has all the data saved already in their system. It is just you cannot access that data. If an SSC is dealing only B2C supplies and aggregate turnover is more than 500, is e-invoicing. See, if the turnover is more than 500 crore, then e-invoicing is applicable if we go by the rule. However, if you are saying that the total supplies of your total supplies are B2C only, then you cannot generate the IRN against the same. So e-invoicing applicable on you, but you are not required to generate the IRN. But your supplies are not covered under the IRN, so you are not required to generate IRN against the same. Can we download the invoices which we have generated? Yes, you can download in 48 hours only. Mr. Sunil has asked, sir, can we download the invoices which we have generated on IRP portal? Yes, you can download, but within 48 hours only. E-invoice is required, not generated due to lack of knowledge of occurrence. E-invoice is required but not generated. See, you can generate the e-invoices. Someone has asked that they have not generated the e-invoices for the April month due to the lack of knowledge. So you can generate the e-invoices right now as well, as there are no bar on generation of e-invoices on the date for generation of e-invoices. So you can compile now and generate the IRN of the same and give the so officer on verification of the same officer may charge the penalty on you under section 125 for the journal penalty. Government flaws in invoice data entry system. What if we reset the question? This has already been answered. No, VAT turnover for the period 1st of April to 36th of July 2017 will not be included for calculating the turnover limit, as the aggregate as per section 26 of aggregate turnover means the turnover from July introduction of the GST only. So the turnover of first quarter, that is April, June, July 2017 will not be considered for calculation of the turnover limit. Petrol bunk turnover 48 crore, lubricant P2P 2 crore and lubricant B2C sell 1 crore, it is mandatory. The lubricant B2B is e-invoice. See, as per the aggregate turnover of non-GST supplies also included in your aggregate turnover. So the e-invoicing is applicable. However, it will not be uh, enabled by the GST portal for you. So you have to request for them by justifying your concern that you are crossing the 50 crore turnover, and you need you are required to issue the e-invoicing, and they will after verification enable for you the e-invoicing portal. In- see, if Jagjit Singh has asked, if one of my client is not eligible for e-invoicing, but online portal is showing that you are enabled for e-invoicing, what to do, sir, please? Then you can ignore that thing. If you are not required to issue e-invoicing, but the portal has enabled the same, then you ignore the same. There will be no consequences of the same. However, you have to justify your view that you are not allowed. Yes, Mr. Subramaniam ji, we will share the PPT with all of you through your mail IDs. We can download the invoices after 48 hours if it was not available for that point. No, Sahil ji, you cannot download the invoice after 48 hours from the IRP portal. Ms. Venkateshwarala ji has asked, we are giving 4-digit HSN code only instead of 6 digits. See, HSN code has to be used from the HSN master only. So please verify whether the 4-digit or 6-digit HSN code has been provided, or whether the HSN code has been provided 4-digit or 6-digit from the functionality available. As you can refer my last slide, wherein I have shown from where you can download the HSN master. See, in the G Venkatesan G has asked, this financial year their turnover is 50 crore, and in next financial year their turnover will be 40 crore. Then what about invoicing? Then the e-invoicing is applicable on you, as the words has been used as in any preceding financial year. So if you have crossed the turnover from 2017-18 to till date, you are required to issue the e-invoice. I guess all the questions has been covered, and if anyone has any uh, more questions, then they can ask for. Ramesh, can you please show my slide?
Um, is the one, sir?
So if anyone, the PPT will be shared with you all on your registered email ID, and if you guys are having any query, then you can mail as well, and we will get back to you as soon as possible on the same. Can we go on the last phase directly?
I'm trying, sir. Or else you can present your screen if the PPT is open in your system.
So here are my contact details. If anyone is having any query, they can ask. You can mail me or WhatsApp me on that number, and I will be reverting on you. Thank you all for joining this webinar, and
Thank you so much,
thank
Vishalji,
you,
and
Ramyaji, for
thank you to
providing
all
me
the
this
participants
opportunity.
also. And I hope you have a great evening, and please stay home and stay safe. Yes, the video will be available on YouTube, and we'll also be sharing the link of the video plus the PPT also to you very soon. Yeah, so please stay safe, stay home, and keep yourself healthy. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.